The dawn is cold. You wake not in a bed, but on the hard ground, your body stiff from yesterday's march. The horn sounds, no time for comfort, no rest for aching limbs. You sling your pack onto your shoulders, leather straps cutting into skin already raw. 40 pounds of gear, armor, shield, weapons, rations, tools. Another 20 pounds of stakes for camp. The pack is so heavy, the Romans gave it a cruel nickname, Marius's mules, because you are not a man anymore. You are a beast of burden. The order comes. The column begins to move. Step after step, mile after mile, the dust rises. Sandals scrape on gravel. The sun grows hotter, sweat dripping into your eyes, your back screaming under the weight. This is not the glory of battle. This is not the triumph of Rome. This is the brutal reality of marching in a Roman legion. Every legionary carried the empire on his shoulders. His pack contained more than just survival. It contained Rome's domination. A shield, heavy and curved, large enough to cover the body. Armor, plates, mail, or segmented strips of iron. A helmet worn day and night. A short sword, the gladius, for stabbing in close quarters. A javelin, the pilum, designed to pierce shields. Food for days, hard bread, dried meat, sour wine. Tools, shovel, axe, sickle. Together, it weighed 60 to 80 pounds, sometimes more. And this was carried not for an hour, not for a day, but for weeks on end. The Roman soldier was not just a warrior. He was a laborer, an engineer, a pack animal. His burden was the cost of empire. The endless road. Marches stretched for 20 miles or more in a single day. Columns of men tramped in silence, dust choking their lungs, sandals wearing their feet raw. Roads stretched ahead in endless lines, cutting across mountains, deserts, swamps. Rain turned paths into rivers of mud. Snow froze fingers onto shields. In summer, the heat was so fierce, helmets baked the skull. Legionaries learned not to complain. Complaints earned lashes. Falling behind could mean death. Discipline was iron. Rome did not tolerate weakness. The road was as much an enemy as any barbarian. After 20 miles, the soldiers' march did not end. The real work began. Every night, wherever the legion stopped, a camp was built. Not a haphazard scattering of tents, but a fortress. Trenches dug, ramparts raised, wooden palisades hammered into place, stakes driven into the earth, ditches cut by sweating men, all after a day of carrying crushing loads. Only when the camp was finished could food be cooked, tents raised, wounds tended, and then, before dawn, it was torn down again. This was not cruelty for its own sake. Rome believed discipline was survival. A legion that could march 20 miles, build a fortress, then fight at dawn was a legion that could crush any enemy. But for the soldier, it was a prison of routine. Day after day, the same cycle. March, build, eat, sleep, march again. The body endured, but the spirit frayed. The punishment for disobedience was brutal: flogging, branding, even execution. Sometimes entire units were decimated. 1 in 10 men beaten to death by their comrades, as a warning to the rest. The road did not forgive weakness. Neither did Rome.
Rome's empire stretched across every landscape imaginable, and the legion marched through them all. In the Alps, soldiers carved roads into cliffs, dragging mules and wagons through snow so deep men froze in their armor. In the deserts of Syria and Africa, the sun scorched them until lips cracked and water turned to dust in their skins. In German forests, endless trees swallowed the column, shadows hiding enemies at every turn. The land itself was war. Imagine the sound, the steady beat of thousands of feet, the clatter of iron against shields, the creak of leather straps, the grunts of men straining under weight, and above it all, the silence of discipline. No laughter, no chatter, just the endless rhythm of Rome, grinding across the world. The march carved itself into the flesh. Sandals wore through skin until feet bled. Shoulders bent permanently under the strain of the pack. Backs hunched, hands blistered, knees swollen from miles upon miles. Infections spread through cuts. Fevers burned through tents. Men collapsed from exhaustion, their bodies left by the roadside. Rome did not stop for the weak. The road left scars deeper than the sword. The mind of the soldier. But the greatest weight was not the pack. It was the silence. Day after day, the same road. Day after day, the same burden. No voice, no relief, only the endless command to endure. A soldier learned to bury fear, to bury exhaustion, to bury himself. Rome demanded not only his body, but his soul. At the end of weeks of marching came the battle. Legions arrived not fresh, but worn, carrying the weight of hundreds of miles. They fought not on empty stomachs, but after nights of digging trenches and hauling stakes. And still, they were expected to form ranks, shields locked, javelins thrown, swords thrust. The miracle of Rome was not that its soldiers fought. It was that they fought after marching 20 miles and building fortresses along the way. When Rome triumphed, emperors took the glory. Senators boasted of conquest. Citizens cheered in the streets. But the price of that victory was paid in sweat and blood by the men who marched. Men whose names history forgot, whose bones lined roads and rivers, whose backs carried the empire mile after mile. The empire did not rest on marble alone. It rested on blistered feet. Walk Rome's roads today. The stones still stretch across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. They outlasted the empire itself. But remember who laid them. Remember who marched them. Not emperors or senators, but ordinary men, bent under crushing loads, whipped into silence, driven to exhaustion. Their march never ended. Even in death, their bodies were carried along the road, their names erased, their stories forgotten. The glory of Rome was built not only in battle, but in the endless march. For the legionary, the road was both battlefield and grave. This was the brutal reality of marching in a Roman legion.